You've heard him here before. His name is the Nerdy Mark.
Welcome back to the do of
To the Omega Cast. So, today we're going to breeze through some news. You seen her on the first Mae Young Classic, the big bad Jazzy Gabbert. She has been cleared to wrestle once again. Sami Zayn lost in terrible fashion at Money in the Bank to Bobby Lashley. Why? Because he has two torn rotator cuffs and he's going to be out for about a year. We got the New Japan CEO gaming thing in Florida coming up, and they announced some matches for that. It looks to be pretty awesome. We also got the G1 coming up with the A blocks and the B blocks were announced. There was no super outsiders in it. Also, we've had some major news this week. Big Cass has been released by WWE. It has been said that it was for going into business with himself, for himself, whenever he beat up the little person on the 5'11" SmackDown. He had also ripped a door off of a bathroom in a bus during the European tour because he thought it was a prank, but it wasn't. He got into heated arguments about the Trump administration with Sami Zayn over the treatment of Muslims, and he was being an excessive drinker while they were doing the European tour. Nerdy Mark, what do you have to say about this?
You know what? Let me tell you this first thing first. To be fired, I can tell you from firsthand experience, I have been laid off. Matter of fact, I did get fired. So I know how it feels. It feels like Nakamura kicking you in the balls every 5 minutes. But I felt that WWE did do the right thing ultimately, because what you said, JP, I feel that going in a very creative direction with Big Cass. So I think losses, one less paycheck to write, so I think we're all good. But hey, I heard TNA is hiring.
Yeah. Next, we're going to get into, we heard the announcement at this week's UK tournament, which we will not provide spoilers for, but NXT UK is a thing now. NXT UK is a thing now. They are going to be working with Progress and ICW and all the other people that they have come into contact with. All the people like Travis Banks and Zach Gibson, Jenny, Tony Storm, and of course the NXT UK talent they already have is going to be there. Johnny Saint has been named as the GM of NXT UK. They will be recording episodes Saturday, July 28th, Sunday, July 29th at the Corn Exchange in Cambridge. This is a huge announcement as NXT seems to be going global and also becoming the new territory system. How do you feel about this one, Sid?
I'm excited for this. I think it is about time that we have. I mean, they've been doing great locally in the United States, especially in Florida, obviously, which is their home base. But I think, as we territories, we can go out there and look for more talent, more fresh faces, more international people. We're gonna become a bigger NXT. Looks to be a much bigger melting pot in the near future. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see a lot of the other NXT territories. This isn't going to be the first one. I think we're going to see them also on NXT. A lot of people are worried about how this will affect the companies involved, like Progress and ICW, and I don't see it as a bad thing if the owners of those promotions are actually giving the okay for their guys to do this. So people online can speculate and argue and get upset all they want, but they're not behind the desks making the exchanges. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
John?
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to lead to us eventually getting NXT Ireland, NXT Japan, NXT Germany. I think this is nothing but a positive. It's nothing but a positive. And it's just another example of Triple H saving professional wrestling, or at least saving the image of WWE in the eyes of hardcore wrestling fans.
Couldn't have said it better myself, bud. Now, the last bit of news. If you're a wrestling fan, you've known this since Wednesday. Who I consider to be the second greatest big man in wrestling history, passed away. I believe late Monday night of heart failure. This man is known as Big Van Vader, the Mastodon, Vader time. Unfortunately, was amazing in the NWA. He started in the AWA. He was a major heel in WCW. He made his way over to Japan. He was very big in Japan, figurative and literally. He was in tag teams with Stan Hansen. He was in tag teams with Bam Bam Bigelow, another fellow big man from America. He's one of the greatest guys in history. I'm going to read off some things about his accomplishments in wrestling. He was the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown Heavyweight Champion twice. He was the World Tag Team Championship there with Dr. Death Steve Williams, and he was the Champion Carnival in 1999. In the Catch Wrestling Association, he was the CWA Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion and the CWA World Heavyweight Champion 3 times. For Impact Zone Wrestling, he was the IZW Heavyweight Champion 1 time. In New Japan Pro Wrestling, he was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion 3 times. He held the Tag Team Championship with Bam Bam Bigelow once. He won the Super Grade Tag League in 1991 with Tatsumi Fujinami, who became a WWE Hall of Famer a few years ago, and he won the IWGP title tournament in 1989. Pro Wrestling Illustrated has named him Wrestler of the Year in 1993. He was ranked number 2 of the top 500 singles wrestlers in the PWI 500 in 93. He was ranked number 27 on the top 500 singles wrestlers of the PWI years in 2003. He ranked number 36 of the top 100 tag teams of the PWI years with Bam Bam Bigelow in 2003. In Pro Wrestling Noah, he held the GHC Tag Team Championship with Too Cold Scorpio. Tokyo Sports named him and Stan Hansen in 1998 the best tag team. In the UWA, he held the World Championship once. In WCW Championship Wrestling, he held the United States title 1 time, the heavyweight title 3 times, and he won the Battle Bowl in 1993. In the World Wrestling Federation, he won the Slammy Award for Crime of Century for attacking Gorilla Monsoon in 1996. The Wrestling Observer gave him a 5-star match in 1991 against Keiji Moto, a.k.a. the Great Muta, at the G1 Climax Day 3 on August 9th of that year. He won Best Heel in 1993. The Vader Salt was the best wrestling maneuver in 93, Most Improved Wrestler in 99, Wrestler of the Year in 93, and he was in the Hall of Fame class of the Wrestling Observer newsletter in 1996. A few years ago, we learned that actually 2 years ago, we learned that doctors told him that he only had 2 years left to live because of his heart. He got a better response from other doctors. He fought his heart problem head on, and unfortunately, due to pneumonia problems, he died. And all I could say is when I watched WCW as a kid, he felt real. He felt like he could come out and attack you. He was a legit by everyone. Jim Cornette explained, if you look it up, he talks about Vader in the WWF and what happened to his run, why he wasn't treated the same. And obviously those were the Click years, and that had something to do with it. I will not delve into that any deeper. Sid, what do you think about the passing of Big Van Vader?
You know what? It is a big loss for the wrestling industry. I mean, he has done quite a bit, as you, JP. I do have an unfortunate confession to make. I personally have not watched Vader wrestle, but I know that he has. JP, he seemed like quite a marvel. I will be doing some homework and watching a lot of his matches. But
let me tell
rest
you,
in
Sid,
peace.
Let me tell you, he is the template for a super heavyweight that can move. If it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be a Bam Bam Bigelow. If it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be Killian Dane. There wouldn't be Keith Lee. You wouldn't be seeing these guys doing moonsaults and shooting star presses and stuff like that. Sorry to cut you off, but I just had to say that.
Okay. And yeah, and I mean, I even saw on Braun Strowman's Instagram, he said that Vader was a big inspiration for him. So adding that, I wanted to say rest in peace, Mastodon. You will be missed, but
bringing up what Braun Strowman said, I remember reading on the Evolve Wrestling website a long time ago when I first heard about Evolve. I went to their roster main page, and Sami Callihan, before he was in WWE, was on there, and they asked him what inspired him to wrestle, and he said Vader, which is pretty wild.
But yeah, I mean, that's all I want to say. Rest in peace, Vader. Gone but not forgotten, and you will be missed. Thank you, Vader. And if he is not in the WWE Hall of Fame next year, I will riot.
Yeah, and there's another thing about Vader that's a little sad, is he's been campaigning for quite some time to get into the Hall of Fame, and ever since he got sick, and they haven't done it. And I think they've even had him induct someone, haven't they?
I'm not sure.
But they haven't put him in. I don't know. That sucks. Okay, so you want to get light in the mood, get into something else? What do we got?
Well, the only other thing I want to say is his Twitter beef with Will Ospreay was actually a work. It was all fabricated. You could go onto High Spots Network and Will Ospreay talking to the main guy there about the whole feud and how it happened, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, that's where we'll end this news segment. Rest in power, Big Van Vader. You'll be missed, but you'll never be forgotten. Now, I took the lead on the
Adam Cole Bebe, and a great story being told in the Gargano Ciampa match. For me, though it was enjoyable, I didn't see too many surprising elements in that pay-per-view. And plain, like my favorite match was the Rock versus Hogan tribute during WrestleMania X8. The spots, the high flying spots, everything was just amazing about it. But those are just my 2 cents. JP, real quick, what would you think about Takeover?
Everything seemed more real, because what if Lars fell down because of all the strikes that happened beforehand? He ended up hitting him with the Black Mass anyway. Right. So guess what, Marks? Chill out. I thought the Gargano Ciampa match was great, especially for the spot of Ciampa taking off the wedding ring, spitting on it, and throwing it into the crowd.
That was great.
Yeah, those are my quick
saying. To me, right on par with Velveteen Dream's match with Aleister Black. Now, what's the common denominator there?
Velveteen Dream.
That is right. He is absolutely amazing for somebody who's not been wrestling for a crazy long time. For somebody as young as he is, he has such a naturally awesome character. He's good at it. He's 100% committed to it. and his in-ring work is second to none. And so as far as NXT TakeOver goes, every takeover is good. So it's not worth me sitting here telling you about it, because if you're not watching it by now, what are you doing?
You both said Ricochet versus Velveteen Dream was match of the night. I'm going to be the odd man out and say the first match that set the pace for the whole show, the tag match, was actually the match of the night for me. But I understand where you guys are coming from. Sid, let's get into Money in the Bank.
So Money in the Bank, first of all, I do want to say I liked it a lot better than that sorry excuse of a pay-per-view known as Backlash.
Yeah, I think Backlash sucked because they had a lot going on at that time. They did the Greatest Royal Rumble. They were all over the place. I think that had a lot of effect on Backlash, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can see that. But the thing I will say was the best thing about Money in the Bank is that all these feuds that we did not want to see over. Daniel Bryan versus Cass is over because, of course, Cass is fired. Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley, thankfully it's over. They can move on. Of course, Sami Zayn get well soon. Roman Reigns versus Jinder is finally over. I am so glad we don't have to see this, at least for... I want to just get into some of the Money in the Bank matches and the championship matches. I want to say the women's Money in the Bank and men's Money in the Bank were both really good, but I just didn't agree with the results. I didn't know why they had to put the Alexa. I mean, I love Alexa as a champion, but quite some time. I don't know why they're giving her another run. That's my thing. That's my opinion. And Braun Strowman did not need the briefcase. He could just go and kick, even though, he lost to Brock, but still, I think he didn't really need the briefcase, in my opinion. I think it could have been given to someone like Bobby Roode to elevate him, so that he could get back the title he never lost, or even Kevin Owens because he never got his rematch.
Or Balor.
I mentioned Balor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So but I think. Sorry, sir. I'm almost done. So, but I did like both of those matches. So, guys, what did you guys think? Both Money in the Bank matches.
I think that both Money in the Bank very slightly, but I liked both. Again, with Money in the Bank, I think AJ and Shinsuke, with Jeff Hardy going for the U.S. title, with what we saw on SmackDown, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So my thoughts on Money in the Bank were, it's a solid pay-per-view. It's a very good way for them to put Backlash in the past, and I'm excited for the 4-hour pay-per-view structure moving forward.
Now, Sid, I do agree with you about who got the briefcases. At the time, I thought Alexa didn't need it, and Braun certainly doesn't need it, as they're both main event caliber material already. I think if you are Vince McMahon or Paul Levesque and you heard the crowd every time Becky Lynch was about to grab that, you would move her out of the position she's in and make her a title contender. Now, after the fact of knowing Alexa won and cashed in, having her be Rousey's next feud makes perfect sense, because we got Rousey having a great match against someone who's not that great on the mic, and she sold and she looked real with Nia. And now you're going to have the exact opposite. You're going to have a decent wrestler in there, and you're going to have someone who's going to try and bring Rousey up on the mic, because Alexa excels with her character work. But yeah, I have to agree with John. It was a great way to get Backlash in the past. Shinsuke and AJ stole the show. Maybe I might have to go with Rousey and Nia Jax, because Rousey is just has just blowing people's minds left and right every time she gets a chance. Yeah, that's what I'd have to say about Money in the Bank. It wasn't as good as TakeOver, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting.
Oh no, I don't think we can ever have anything as good as Takeover at this point. But so I mean, yeah. So I do agree with I do see where you're coming from, JP. I think that would be pretty cool. But speaking of and Ronda Rousey, I want to kind of get into some things that happened in Raw. So starting with the first segment, the coronation thing for Alexa Bliss, which was ruined by Ronda Rousey. She got pissed off. She attacked Alexa Bliss. She attacked Kurt Angle. She attacked some referees, and she got suspended for 30 days. The Ronda Rousey that we really wanted to see, not the Ronda Rousey that's been, watching everybody backstage and at catering. Okay, this is the Ronda Rousey who just kicks your ass, takes names. This segment, what did you guys think?
I think that Ronda being suspended makes me a little bit sad, but for a very selfish reason. It's because Extreme Rules is the next pay-per-view, and it's going to be in our hometown of Pittsburgh. So that means I don't get to see Ronda, which sucks because I was planning on going live. So But I do agree with the suspension of Ronda Rousey to keep the focus on Nia and Alexa for now, for the purpose of keeping Ronda in focus when she comes back.
I think that suspending Ronda Rousey and what happened with Ronda Rousey is perfect. I think it adds the more realistic nature of WWE. Kurt Angle's their friend. She's yelling, you're supposed to be my friend, but she lost her cool, and she's a fighter. So it makes sense that she lost her cool. It makes sense that she got physical with everybody. And you know what? It makes her seem more of a badass to be reckoned with. They're going to take her off for a little bit for 30 days. And you know what she's going to do for those 30 days? Probably train with Triple H. Probably train with Alexa Bliss, and probably, hopefully, coax Paul Heyman to be her manager, or go down to the Performance Center and work on her promos. Either way, this was a good segment. It was one of the best openings of Raw in maybe even a year, and I like it. I like how it's going.
All right. So moving on, again, so we're not going to talk about every single thing that happened on Raw and SmackDown. We're just going to talk about some highlights. Because Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler is your new IC champion.
Seth Rollins is going to take some time off, so maybe that's why they took the title off of him. Not for injuries, but for other things. I heard from an insider source that he has some things going on in his life, but that could be the reason. But kayfabe-wise, it's awesome because Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler have been saying that the people on Raw are weak. They're not. They are the show, and we finally got to see them do something that wasn't just a little tag match here, a little singles match there. I think Drew, being the second guy reminds me of Diesel and Heartbreak Kid. They said this is the first of many titles to come. Well, what leaves us? What does that leave us? The tag title or the Universal title? And the Drew McIntyre is completely to be a Universal title holder. Does that happen? Do they get the tag team titles? I don't know. Maybe Drew gets upset that he always has to have Ziggler's back, and they break up and he gets the IC title. But I really don't want to see that happen. I just want to see. I think we had too much of that back in the day. Then they stopped having that, and now, just like a cycle, it's nice. It's welcome, because it gives that element of anything that can happen. Anything can happen on this live show, John, how do you feel?
I feel the same way, but I don't.
Instead of Roman, because Roman was hurt and they decided to bury his ass. Dolph Ziggler's a great manager of Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre should have that IC title. But I'm not a writer for WWE, and I don't know what's coming.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. That's I think that's a good thing. Next up, talk about this one thing, then we can move on to SmackDown. So Lashley and Reigns taking on the Revival. This match, when Roman goes for the spear, but Lashley tags himself in, own spear, which he actually hasn't hit in a very long time, which he hasn't hit at all since coming back. So that was pretty cool to see. But I'm interested to see if this is going to go into a feud between Roman and Lashley, and I so hope that it does, because this would be a much more better feud than him and Sami Zayn, in my opinion. But what do you guys think?
So the Roman and Bob
Didn't, and I wonder if the Revival is the Ascension 2.0, and I really hope they're not. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that one. And
So we did have the major announcement that we're going to have a multi-man match at Extreme Rules to determine who will face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Exact same main event as last year. So I really am pretty to this. I don't know. What about you guys? What do you guys think?
Well, that last match last year was awesome. Samoa Joe came out of nowhere and choked out.
It was good.
I think Elias put his name in the hat. In the final, the last match, Constable Corbin picked up the win, so I'm guessing he's going to be in there with Kevin Owens and who did they wrestle?
Who are you talking about?
Was it Finn Balor and Braun Strowman? Braun Strowman holds the briefcase, so I don't really see Braun being in that match, but I don't know. I'm pretty excited. How about you, John? How you feel about it?
I think it'll be good. I mean, I think it'll be good. I hope, like I said with Extreme Rules, I hope I get to go. I'm trying.
Rollins is in the match. I expect Seth Rollins to win. I expect Seth Rollins to give Brock Lesnar a hell of a match at SummerSlam. And I expect Braun Strowman to pull a Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. Bold prediction.
Cool. So now, the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, Jeff Hardy and Nakamura possibly feuding. This is at SummerSlam, and this looks really good, because this is actually a match I really wanted to see. I've kind of considered Nakamura as like the Japanese Jeff Hardy in a way.
Right.
To see these two together feuding and potentially having
Yeah, I was excited to see the Jeff Hardy face paint come back, honestly. I loved seeing that, and that whole promo that he did about his eyes being open now and that he sees Nakamura. And if you noticed, the contacts that were in his eyes were very reminiscent of the Brother Nero character.
And I loved how he brought back the face paint from Impact, where he painted Jeff Hardy on SmackDown. And now it makes so much sense, because it fantasized about a few matches. I want to see him face Balor, of course. I want to see him in a triple threat against Balor and Randy Orton, because I think Balor is a mixture of both of those wrestlers. And like you said, the Japanese version of Jeff Hardy and the American version of Shinsuke Nakamura, in some senses, Jeff Hardy versus Nakamura. And I think this is this is going to be a really awesome feud, because Jeff Hardy is a one-of-a-kind wrestler. He has his own style. He doesn't, like, AJ can adapt to everyone, and AJ has wrestled Nakamura in the past in New Japan. But Jeff Hardy, he can adapt, I guess, but he does his own thing. And it will be really interesting to see how this goes. I liked how Jeff Hardy said his eyes are open now, and I like how Nakamura told Renee Young that his eyes are open, but he will close them if if he wants to come after Nakamura. I also liked how Nakamura said that he only lost because at Money in the Bank because they didn't count in Japanese, and then he went, so
Yeah.
unfair.
Yeah.
And then he acted like he couldn't hear Renee, and then she like kind of like raised her voice, and he said, "You don't have to yell." Like heel Nakamura in WWE is so fucking gold.
I love it. Yeah, heel Nakamura
Yeah, I agree.
is absolute gold.
Love him. But another thing I want to talk about is finally we get the arrival of Sanity minus Nikki Cross. They did Usos cut a promo on Sanity because they were supposed to have a match and beat up the Usos. And I'm glad that they're finally on SmackDown. I wish there was a little bit more of a dramatic debut for them. Like, I don't know, Usos beating up, winning in some other match, and then Sanity maybe jumping them. That would have been better. But hey, finally, I'm just glad that
Right now, aside from the New Day, they're kind of the tag team veterans of SmackDown. So if you want to get a tag team over or put eyes on a tag team, you put them with somebody like the Usos. And I think when we actually get a match out of these guys,
Announced, and I love all three of those guys. I wish that Nikki Cross would have been with them, but
I'm going to tell you why. Here's why they're not going to bring her up right now. Aren't they going to the UK for Download Fest, or did that already happen?
That's already happened.
Okay, but they're going to the UK again, right? Well, she's a UK girl, so they'll maybe, just maybe, they're going to transplant her from NXT to NXT UK.
Oh, maybe that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
But yeah, so
up next, let's just talk about the main event of SmackDown Live. They got pissed off, I guess, and they attacked Daniel Bryan, and this helped Miz pick up the win. But ultimately, the winner was Rusev. So happy Rusev Day to everybody.
Rusev Day.
Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. I only wish we had Aiden English to do that, actually. But
okay, so here's how I feel. They attacked Daniel Bryan. Where does Daniel Bryan go from here because he didn't win the gauntlet? Let's think about NXT TakeOver. Ciampa has been making it known on Twitter that he's done with Gargano and he's putting his eyes on Aleister Black. So, if Ciampa's done with Gargano, I think that Daniel Bryan is going to say, I'm going to recruit someone I feel bad bastards, the Bludgeon Brothers. Right. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a damn good idea. I think because Johnny Gargano has been ready to get called up to main roster since arriving in NXT, if you ask me.
Well, both of them are, but Ciampa is the only person aside from Elias to actually be a heel and not liked in NXT.
Yeah, that I agree with. So, yes, Rusev versus AJ Styles at Extreme Rules. I am pumped for that.
I am excited. I don't think Rusev's going to win, unfortunately, but I hope he does.
But we'll see what happens.
Maybe it gets dragged out till SummerSlam, you know? He's got Aiden English over there that can run in.
I think that about wraps it up for Raw and SmackDown. Back to you guys.
So we're going to make a recommendation for all of you guys out there listening. This past week's 205 Live main event was a triple threat between Hideo Itami, Buddy Murphy, and Mustafa Ali. This match, in my eyes, was 5 stars or 4.5 stars. Go out there and watch it. Right now, we are going to get into this week's big question. And since we are doing a co-branded show with Sid the Nerdy Mark, John and I decided to let him come up with the question this week. So, Nerdy Mark, hit us with what you got.
All right. Okay, I am back, ladies and gentlemen. But I wanted to talk just a quick little background. So a couple of weeks ago, we did have something called E3. And by the way, I'm excited for all the upcoming titles coming out later this year and early next year, which I do have a top 10 list coming out very soon, so be on the lookout for that. The big thing that happened was at the Capcom booth, the New Day taking on Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks in a game of Street Fighter. Sounds awesome, and now it is just. If you did not watch this, please go watch it right now. This got me thinking because not only that, but also the build up to this matchup, we did have WWE.com mention Young Bucks by name as IWGP champion and tag team champions respectively. Kenny Omega, they did even in WWE.com or on the WWE Network, they do have his promo on Crew Jones in Deep South Wrestling.
And they put up a match, Sid.
Oh, they did? Okay, I didn't see that. But so this leads me to believe, and this is just speculation, and I know it's not going to happen, but maybe down the line. This leads me to believe that we could get some sort of cross promotion with New Japan and WWE. I mean, I can see something like this happening, kind of like what Ring of Honor and New Japan have. Something like I can see the IWGP titles being defended on WWE and the WWE titles being defended on IWGP. Far-fetched. I think if you give it some time, it can happen. Now, my question is, do you see some sort of future between these two companies, or does this mean anything? Is going in some sort of direction? Thoughts?
Okay, well, if what Triple H has said about this is to be believed, then 100% yes. I see a cross-brand show between WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling happening because they asked Triple H outright if it was something that could happen, and he said that he was open to it.
Wrong? That's what the title of the article said. But the actual interviewer never brought up New Japan as an actual thing. But I do believe Triple H would be behind it because he is always down to make money. Anything else you wanted to say about that, John? Okay, I'm going to take over from here. Here's how I feel about it. Harold May, the new president of New Japan, wants to be a contender against WWE. New Japan is the biggest promotion in Japan. They made a statement with putting the titles on Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, and Young Bucks at Dominion. I think that what you said about them having a relationship like ROH, I don't think that's ever going to happen. We might get a co-branded event, and if the co-branded event ever happens, it's going to have to be somewhere neutral like in Europe, and it's going to have to be 50-50 booking. No one's going to come out of there the true like top-notch brand, because I don't think either side would be okay with that. I think it would be great. And to touch upon the whole Elite and New Day relationship, I truly believe that Kenny Omega, his entire philosophy on wrestling is about changing the world of wrestling, seeing how much he can change it, push the boundaries, open the doors for everyone, and never say never. I don't think it's since they have partnerships with ROH, who actually was booked for Madison Square Garden on the Saturday of WrestleMania, well, a few calls, and they got blocked. So, whatever's in the best interest of WWE is going to happen. Whatever's in the best interest of New Japan is going to happen. And if both sides can come to terms with something like that, then yes, we will see it. But as of right now, I'm leaving all of that stuff in the hands of guys like Cody, Kenny, and the Bucks, Xavier Woods, people who see past the brands, past who's paying them, and seeing wrestling as an actual force of entertainment outside of who's controlling it.
One last point I just want to make about this. I do agree with what you said, and with the whole New Day thing. But I'm just well, think about this. We weren't with them.
Notice how big Kenny Omega and the Bucks are right now. Like they saw Shinsuke Nakamura. Let's start talking. And if that is what's gonna happen, I don't believe either party, the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega, are going to leave their happy, comfortable, 100% creative control world to come to WWE.
Okay. That too, that could make sense. But I mean, personally, I just I like to stay optimistic, and like you said, never say never. I do think, because with Vince McMahon also, going to XFL in 2020, Triple H will have more power, and if he does, which I do kind of give him a little bit more intelligence credit than I do Vince McMahon. Sorry, Vince. I think he will do something. It may not be now, it may not be anytime soon, but down the line, that's what I'm saying. But that's just my thing, and if it is just a ploy for them to get Kenny Omega and the Bucks to the WWE, I can see that happening too sometime in the future, maybe a year or two down the line. But yeah, again, only time will tell. But I think we can. This is a good note to end it out on. So back to you guys.
Yeah. I love the idea of a co-branding event between New Japan Pro Wrestling and the WWE. If you go back a few episodes to All Shook Up and Crossed Over, you'll hear our question was a crossover event, book 9 matches. John's was ROH versus NXT. Mine was New Japan against WWE. So I'm totally for it, Sid. I just don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. With that being said, we would like to thank Sid, the Nerdy Mark, for being our friend, first and foremost. We networked on Instagram, and through months of talking, we have become very close friends. He's our brother in Texas. We are his brothers in Pittsburgh. Well, I should say Pennsylvania since I said Texas, but he's in Dallas. So if you want to go,
those are my Twitter handles. And by the way, I do have a channel on IGTV, and I put up my first video there. So if you want to look that up, that'd be great. And for my listeners and for my viewers, yourselves, tell us about your social media.
I am at j.p.whitman at Instagram and the JP Whitman on Twitter. We are currently on the
lowercase that is capital JK, lowercase ERNS, and then of course the numbers 9 and 1.
And
right, awesome.
As I like to end all shows, to the new listeners, thank you for lending us your ears. To the listeners who usually tune in,